It's time now for our panel. Joining us are Ben Thomas, political editor of the National Business Review, former Prime Ministerial speechwriter and student of the persuasive word David Slack, and Metro senior staff writer Simon Wilson, who immersed himself in the respective political party messages for a major feature this year. Our topic is spin, or if you prefer, political marketing, the pictures, negative and positive, that political parties make via the media. This can take some surprising forms. For example, if you type the word slippery into google.co.nz, 4 of the first 5 results and many more on the first few pages relate to one man, National Party leader John Key. This isn't an accident, it's the result of a concerted campaign by Labour to associate the word with Key in the House, in press releases, in speeches, in blogs, and best of all, in the news media. Here's a selection.
John Key was much more equivocal this afternoon when we tried to put some questions to him. In fact, I think he was quite slippery this afternoon.
John has a mercurial, slippery quality about him.
It seemed like Labour trapped him and he struggled to wriggle out of it.
We got Mr Key slipping and sliding all over the place. I don't think we need to put soap on the floor to allow Mr Key to fall over when it comes to hard issues.
The Honourable Dr Mike Cullen.
He should have been leader, not Mr Key, because he's not as slippery as Mr Key. Mr Key is a slippery character. While at times Nationals looked as though it has learnt how to be an opposition, it shows no sign it's learnt how to be a government. And with Slippery John in charge, there is no sign it ever will.
If you were wondering what Shane Jones said there on Te Kaurare, he was describing John Key as parapara, slippery like an eel skin. Ben, what's your understanding of the provenance of slippery? You've looked into this, haven't you?
I've been a bit of an amateur genealogist looking at slippery recently. Where it actually showed up first was a blog called The Standard, which is a sort of Labour Party aligned
Which is
blog.
a blog that's accused of being a Labour Party plant, isn't it?
Absolutely, and they've had a go at me in the past for saying that they run Labour Party lines and test them. But their first post on the matter was called "Ever Wondered Why Everyone Calls John Key Slippery?" Now, this was at a point where nobody had ever called John Key slippery.
Where does it get traction? Are there briefings where the word's used all the time? What is the process?
Our techniques are a lot less sophisticated than they are in a political market like the United States. So there's less of this sort of smoky backroom dealing and a lot more just being browbeaten with these words. You see it in interviews where the politicians refuse to say anything else except their talking points. In this case, John Key is a slippery character.
The beauty of slippery is that it could mean that he doesn't know what he thinks, or it could mean that he's hiding something. So from Labour's point of view, it works extremely well for them. And if they can get everybody talking about that in the media, and that by and large does mean Wellington, then that concept will work, and it doesn't matter which one it refers to. It'll resonate some way with one people and other with others.
Does it worry that it's essentially banal, though? I mean, all this time they're using this word in every press release headline they can.
And the idea is just to get the word there and to make this association with the idea of slipperiness, and that could mean anything from duplicitous to outright deceitful to just doesn't have a good grasp on the facts. And to get that associated, basically in your neural networks whenever you think of John Key. So, and it's a bit of a double bind that, a guy like Key finds himself in.
I mean, Simon, you talked to, 30 politicians for that big Metro story?
I talked to around 30 politicians and media people doing my story. What I was hearing from the Labour people was very consistently that John Key can't be trusted because he is the head of Don Brash's party, and it's still Don Brash's party in composition and in its general outlook, and really John Key is hiding the fact that he fronts that nasty old Labour Party.
So the message has changed now?
Well, the message has, if
you got a briefing
around,
now, would
yes.
you get the same words?
I think I'd get different words. I think one of the things that's interesting is that with both National and Labour that I talked to, everybody was very much on message, but those messages do change, and they seem to change every 2 or 3 months in this country. You don't get a month after month after month build on the same thing. We're here slippery now, and it will move from that too.
Yeah. National has a different word it wants us to use when we think of Labour: bureaucrats. Exhibit A. This is what John Key said to the National Press Club and viewers of his YouTube video diary last month.
Today I gave a pretty important speech really on the size of the bureaucracy, the core bureaucracies we see in Wellington. In the first term of a national government, We will not grow the size of the core bureaucracy.
It's time to stop the growth in bureaucracy that we've seen over 8 years of the Labor government. Over the past 8 years, the bureaucracy has grown out of all proportion.
The fastest growing sector in the economy since 2000 has been government administration.
You have a bloated state sector, one that's pumping out a lot of bureaucracy. Take a look at the speech and give us your feedback.
In the full speech, he said bureaucrats or bureaucracy no fewer than 36 times. The government responded with a press release attacking the speech in which a certain word appeared 6 times. You guessed it, it was slippery. David, did you ever write a speech like that where you just banged on that same word time after time?
For a speechwriter, you say, well, I've been seeing this going on. How am I going to crystallise this? And once you've found your word, off you go. So slippery is what you use.
So, are you trying to get people to use the word or just think in those terms?
No, you're just trying to give them voice to what it is you want them to understand.
And that was certainly the case with bureaucracy, which wasn't targeted at any one particular person.
The smartest thing the media can be doing is saying, well, what exactly is underneath this? So an active media actually questions it, and it's interesting to see what happens when they do that, because does the sorcerer's magic vanish? And I think the answer is yes. As Simon said, there's a fast turnover of these things, and as soon as you start to say, oh, look, here's the word they're using, it becomes too obvious when you're then using it in all your speeches and all of your press statements, and so you have to move on and find something else.